Jaima, today we are going to listen to the 22nd chapter of Roaring Silence, The Must Forget Phases. The art of purposeful forgetting is a valuable art if practice could make us free of lot of gross material we collect, thrown by a neighbor or our enemy in a planned manner or carelessly during our life journey. In everyone's life, there surely remain few phases. If you remember again, will definitely be irritating like a thorn in the flesh. Through proper means, we must try to get them eliminated out of our memory at the earliest possible. Otherwise, it is definitely going to be a cause of concern. We have to forget them forever, or the blood pressure will go heights of seriousness. I do remember an incident as a sore in my heart that occurred in my life. It was during the initial stages of the construction works of my Jammu ashram. I was in need of a person who may be able to oversee the works in my absence, and one Swami who was in need of a shelter. So both of our want and necessity met, and I requested him to stay there and oversee the works as it will be a help for me, as I am not a fit person in extracting work from laborers. And also, as I traveled to arrange money for these works here and there, he was known to me since few years during my stay at Rishikesh, and one time good friend also. He readily agreed to my proposal. After keeping him at the ashram site in a small kutia, a thatched shed, I went around for some other works for a long time. It was way back in 90s. On those days, cell phone was not available, not even invented. So there was a huge communication gap, and I was in the innocent belief that our friend is there, what to worry. During these long trips, the construction works of ashram was in progress. The so-called Swami friend was monitoring the works. In between only, I had a chance to go to Kailash. After going to Kailash, I happened to be assigned a service by one of my mentors at Vanavasi Ashram. So it was like I almost left without any message. I was away from the Jammu Ashram for a long period of time. Due to lack of facilities in those days, like of today, I could not leave any message. I stayed few months at Haridwar after my return from Dehradun. One day I met some devotee from the same village on their monthly trip to Sankranti Snana at Haridwar. Among them, one of my disciples from the village who was in charge of the construction also came to Haridwar to meet me and insisted me very much to return to the village. Without disclosing anything to me, just pressed me to return as early as possible. Of course, the lion's share of the construction works were over with two temples dedicated to Shiva and Durga. By enquiry, I was given to understand that the behavior of the Swami, whom I brought, had changed, happened to be quite indifferent. Neither he nor the villagers are able to cope up with their respective expectations as a sadhak or as devotees, which may harm the spiritual ecology of the village to an irreparable extent. If we do not understand the writing on the wall, we may have to pay the price of losing the dedicated devotion of the villagers. When they pleaded me with their legible arguments, I was bound to concede. So I decided to go to ashram at Jammu. When I reached, so to say even before I reaching there, when the sadhu heard of my return to the ashram, he started a smear campaign against me with the help of few of his beneficiaries. So the air became thick to breathe for him. As I expected it already, I did not entertain anything which may fuel his agony further. I was thinking, for the past few months he was here, took the pain of looking after the ashram alone, so it is natural that a sense of insecurity to erupt for the full freedom in every dealing I had assigned to him. Sharing or foregoing any right, power, or status for anyone is not an easy affair for the mind after having tasted it. So I wanted him to be there along with me in a normal way as usual, which was not an issue for me or for the villagers, but it did not appeal to him. So he started manifesting symptoms of dislike. He disliked my very presence there to the least. He often used rough words of acid towards me, and to the worst, he started polarizing the devotees of that small area. Some of the disciples in that village inform me of this with fear that such things are very harmful to the peaceful coexistence of the society. But he was trying to make two groups among the disciples. So, with no options left, I had requested him that he can return to Haridwar as the construction works are over. His esteemed service is no more solicited there, with a lot of thanks to the help extended by him for all these long periods of time. He got angry upon my request and registered a strong resistance. I explained to him of the damage of goodwill as indebted sadhus to the village people. It all failed to bring any understanding or meaning in him. So, resorting to some harder steps out of fear of unwanted confrontations, I replaced the request to leave with a ceremonial send off. He decided a dharana outside the gate of the ashram and tried to create a sympathy wave. But when he saw that cloud too refused to form, he left that place with a stern warning for drastic consequences, only for to return again and again to threaten or harass me with his unparliamentary lingos. Even this time, he sat for a whole day and night just at ashram gate, by which he was successful in generating a sympathy wave towards him from some of the villagers. Now it becomes more sensitive for me to answer and satisfy everyone without any damage to the goodwill of the sadhus in the hearts of the devotees. I wanted to get rid of the mess, but diplomatically. Without the least knowledge of what more serious trouble awaited, I was ready to embark like devil and deep sea. In between, I had a trip to Rishikesh to meet one of my friends, Swami, and he was staying in an ashram there, where I met another Swami who knew that disturbing Swami, who was making an issue with me in the Jammu ashram. So, to get rid of a devil, I decided or misled to jump into the deep sea where worse sharks live. So, with sweet ensnarling words, the Swami told that, Swami, the Swami who is disturbing you in Jammu has a fear and submission to me. So, I will come and stay with you then. He will not disturb you any more. As I was agonized a lot by then, his words looked highly solacing, so I took him for granted and took him to Wasam. He told he will come and stay with me at my ashram, and as the other Swami was not in good terms with him, in his presence he will never turn up or disturb me. I too liked this idea, but never thought about the consequences. To be frank, I did not know any such politics behind this, or hook and crook or tipsy-turvy modes in Vyavahara. Anyhow, this new Swami joined in the ashram. After that, only once the disturbing Swami came, but never again turned back. After some time, I came to know these two Swamis stayed together under one Guru, and so both were Gurubais. Few months passed in calm atmosphere. The new man who came as savior also was an efficient manipulator, started picking up contacts around very quickly. I thought he is a social being who could handle the devotees well with his experience and knowledge, but the undercurrent was otherwise. He started extending his tentacles other way. One day, my sannyasi disciple, Swami Omkaranand, came with the disturbing news that the new incumbent Swami in ashram has started doing business-like activities and pretending that he is doing Samaja Seva, that is, service to society. He started making horoscopes of people from nearby villages, do sorceries, and started sale of Navaratnas according to horoscope, giving medicines for unwanted purpose. Ashram has become a business spot. Activities contrary to the basic motto of the ashram are being observed. I too came to notice many people around him very often, but I thought he may be giving some spiritual oriented advice, satsang, etc. Later, I observed lot of customers around and not devotees. From old devotees also I came to know, and also I learned from villagers that the Swami earned a good amount from his business. By now, a demand to get rid of the Swami started coming from the quarters of traditional support of the ashram, who believe staunchly in spirituality, and it's due to them the ashram itself came upon into its existence. So ignoring their demand is not appeared a sound idea for the welfare of the ashram also. So I got slipped into a fix. I have seen people who can utter the word no and get out and are pretending sorry so easily to anyone without a price, but for me, right from the beginning, it was painful like a delivery. So for days, I rehearsed myself to ask the Swami to find himself a new market and let the ashram remain a hermitage. Finally, with some accumulated courage, of course through Omkaranand, I requested him to find some other suitable place for his stay. When this came to light, his clientage got infuriated, showing me their banners of revolt. So called beneficiaries for reading horoscope, fixing dates for marriage, or getting Navratna rings from him got angry with me. The group supporting that Swami tried to behave with me little roughly. But the traditional support prevailed upon, and the Swamiji had to leave the ashram to a distant place. This was misinterpreted, and some days later, the old devil came back to the village, started frequenting often. Even though he was rearing enmity inside, never tried to disturb face to face. But now he played little politics, and the result was but dangerous. One day it so happened that one of that Swamiji's well-wisher came to ashram at evening puja arati time. He was fully drunk and started calling abusive words to me and tried to break the temple door and threw away the puja patras. Some of the villagers assembled and sent him back. Next day I called for a village panchayat to think what is to be done next. But in that also I failed because of the partiality towards the culprit, who used the obscene words and damaged the temple belongings. That man was a close relative of some of the committee members of the governing body of the temple. Relationship took toll of justice. This seemingly insignificant incident brought a virtual confrontation with some of the vital entities of the setup. Finally, I decided to withdraw from the scene once and for all. It was a shocking decision for all the innermost devotees of mine, even though they are small in number but rock solid in their devotion even today. Though the disciples in inner circle never agreed with me for leaving that ashram forever, but I was adamant in my decision. Once again, I called the panchayat meeting to tell my decision, and before I leave, I want that person to do Prayachitta Puja for his papa done to the deities, so as it should not affect his family or villagers. In a day or two, they arranged the Prayachitta Puja. Before I left the ashram, which I found it by begging money from all over India from my disciples, which cost more than 75 lakhs, I handed over everything to Omkaranand and declared him as my successor of the ashram. I left the ashram as if nothing happened. In the same way, like on the day one of my entering the village, with a lone shoulder bag, my copper kamandal. When I left also, I took and possessed only that much on the last day of my leaving too. It is the end of chapter 22. In this chapter, the friend Sadhu gave into his negative emotions and acted on it. It is normal for a person to have negative emotions, but once we act on it, though it gives a menial pleasure in the short term, we are on the path to self-sabotage in the long run. Even Mahabharata was because of this petty negative emotion. Duryodhana was jealous of Pandavas and feeling insecure. Had he understood his feelings and acted on the path of dharma, everyone would have been at peace. Instead, he acted on his negative emotions and did many petty things which snowballed into a great war and led to great destruction. Dharma is when we listen to our inner voice, which is Krishna, and adharma is when we give in to our negative emotions. Let's do our best to be in the path of dharma. If you enjoyed this video, please do share with your family and friends. Chapter 23 will be released next Sunday. Jai Ma.